What up?
What up? What up? What up?
Is it raining at your house like it is at mine?
Oh man, throwing out the Vern Gosden immediately. Soon as the podcast gets rolling, I love it. It was not raining at my house like it was at Chicago. I will say that much. It was bright and sunshiny down here.
Yeah, it wasn't raining here either. But
man,
God hates Chicago street racing.
Apparently so. We have still yet to see a full length
race.
Yeah, I know. We still haven't seen a full length race, and they shortened it by 25% this year, and it still was the second shortest race since 1972.
History.
Like, mind blowing, man. I said that yesterday in our group text with Steven. I was like, man, I just feel like we're just never actually going to get to see what this street course race looks like for the Cup Series. They did it for the Xfinity Series, and it looks like a hell of a lot of fun. And then it comes around to the Cup Series, and it just dumps on it every year. And I think we have one more year left on this contract. Starting that sucker off at 5 p.m., I question that decision.
That was going to be my biggest that's my biggest problem yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, I get it.
My biggest problem yesterday is I guess I wasn't thinking last year's been a year ago, so I forgot about like not being able to race into the night. I already knew they can't race on the next day. I knew that. But I guess I thought last year they like raced semi into the night or something.
Yeah.
And it was funny. They actually NASCAR announced the 920 thing. I mean, probably like 30 minutes before TV said anything. Like Twitter and everybody. I mean, it was probably like 30 minutes before. So the NBC like finally said something about it. But anyway, what I was getting at when I saw that, I was like, why do you start this race at 5 o'clock? Like, I talked about it recently. Me and you did the other week or two ago. Like, I actually don't mind the evening starts on a Sunday. Like, Monday is my day that I have to chill out. I don't write songs on Mondays. It's the day I'm not on the road. Like, Monday's my day to chill. So having a evening night race is like not that too big of a deal to me on a Sunday. I know it is for a lot of other people. But I just don't get when there is a curfew, why in the hell would you start a race at 5 o'clock?
Yeah, especially whenever it's going to butt up against
4.5 hours from that.
Didn't we just talk about the fact that if there's impending weather, they can move the TV window a little bit just to make it fit a little bit better into the weather system? I mean,
yeah, 24 hours before they can. They would have had to make that decision on Saturday, but still, like, even 4 o'clock, that wouldn't, like, let's, like, bump it up to, like, a normal, 2:30, 3:30.
Yeah.
Like, where's that at when we have a window? I think the only way they should have these late evening starts is if the track has lights.
And can race on the next day if need to. I mean, that's
if
just...
it has lights and such, and it's like Loudon or whatever, and you have wet tires, that even helps even more.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a mess of trying to fit around so many city regulations, state regulations, TV windows. There's just so many factors that came into probably timing that race out. I'm sure Chicago had something to say about when that race started. But, I mean,
100%.
even so, it's tough to force this into the window they're trying to aim it into when there's weather involved. That's the one issue that they came across both years. It's just if the rain falls, it calls the entire event into question. I mean, we're lucky we got to get to a halfway point in this race. It would have been real embarrassing if we got only 37 laps and we needed 38 to be halfway. What would they have done then? They would have just had to call it.
It would have been called. Like we were talking about in the group chat, it would have been called.
Yeah, and like how disappointing is that they have to create a special rule for this street course race that if it doesn't get to halfway and there's no possibility of continuing the event, then it's just going to have to call it. And that's just... It's so difficult. We talked about it last year when they announced the plan to do it, that we had our concerns, and luckily it's worked out both years to be somewhat entertaining. You don't know what's going to happen. The rain falling adds that level of you don't know. But if you look deeper into it, it brings up a whole bunch of issues that could pop up because we don't really have a contingency plan, and there's not a really good one to do anything around. I feel like we've gotten lucky 2 years in a row Are we going to get lucky that third year? And I think it's the final year of that contract. Are we going to get lucky that third and final year to make this happen?
I don't know. I don't even know. I saw Ben Kennedy. He said he feels confident about it, but it's not even like a locked in thing for next year. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. It seems like the city of Chicago, always beforehand, hates it. But then when the governor or the mayor, whoever it was talking to the drivers meeting, he's like, we're so happy to have you here. We love this event. It's great for the restaurants and the hotels and this, that, and other. So I don't know what to believe or what. I don't know. I just look at Twitter and form my own opinions because everybody says something different. So I don't really know what goes on with that whole situation.
Well, I just feel like there's a good reason why racetracks are usually put outside of the city limits because there's only the people that like racing that don't find racing annoying. And I feel like that's kind of what we run into a lot. People that don't like it just find it incredibly intrusive in their life for some reason. And I don't know. It just makes it tough to have these downtown events like this. And it usually works out for a couple years until it doesn't.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know if they I'll say this. I don't mind the street course racing. The actual racing aspect of it, if there was a street course built that was permanent, we built that same racetrack with the same walls, but put it somewhere else. I don't know,
put it
not
in Gary.
Downtown Chicago.
Put it in Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be in the middle of BFE. The actual design of the racetrack and the close walls and just everything you got to do. I enjoy the racing. It's just all
cool.
the other stuff that goes on.
I agree.
The whole situation.
Sucks.
Yeah, it's just like I just said, it's kind of confusing because you hear so many different things on social media. Not that any of them are true or not true. I don't know. So I'm just like I said last week, it's just enjoy it while it's here because I don't know how long it'll be here. So just, enjoy it while it's here.
It's the only way you can look at it. And someone who really enjoyed it was Alex Bowman. Finally gets his win. First time in, 83 races, 84 races, something like that.
Yeah.
He's been winless.
I'm a Bowman fan. And the dude's
I was saying the same thing as he was coming around those last few laps.
The dude's been coming out. I mean, he's coming off of a broke back and a broke head over the last few years. So we've heard other drivers talk about after breaking your back, it's kind of one of the hardest things to come back from. One, because obviously your back's broken, that's terrible. But two, because you're literally your ass in the seat, how you feel the race car doesn't give you the feedback that you need to tell the crew chief what's wrong or how the car feels in the corner, stuff like that. So,
yeah, and you're always having to brace against it, and you're probably making decisions you don't even realize affect your drive.
Yeah, and his crew chief called a great race, and they did it the best of any of it. And then Bowman was very aggressive and got around Joey Hand, and it was, I don't know, he just ran at the end. He ran the back end of that race. It was perfectly called and perfectly driven on the back end when it counted. Really. So
yeah,
I think he definitely deserved that one.
Oh, he did 100%. I mean, it was a lot of effort and drive that took him to get up there, running a separate strategy from the only other guy that was out there trying to, compete with him, and Tyler Reddick as he was catching up. So you obviously had two different strategies that worked out great for their own individual purposes. And I think Bowman and his team just managed to put that last run together in a great way. And I mean, take that mistake away from Tyler Reddick, I think he still would have had a really tough time getting around.
He would have had a hard time passing him. Yeah. But 2 weeks in a row that Reddick has been in the catbird seat and totally fudged it up.
Yeah, just made a mistake.
Dude. He had the same interview yesterday as he had last Sunday. Same interview.
I said the same thing.
And he said it in the interview. It's he was over aggressive in that corner. He was by himself. He did not have to go that low. There was nothing
and
messing him
so
up.
Much faster.
Yeah, and I would have loved. I also like Reddick. I'm a fan of Reddick too. I would have loved to see it come down there to the end, them beating and banging for the win. Yeah. Like I said, I'm glad Bowman won. That's awesome. But those slick tires, once there is an ounce of dry on the track, they are so much faster. It is insane.
Oh, yeah, they definitely are. I mean, they talk about how difficult it is to drive those slick tires in the rain, and I feel like a lot of these drivers have that experience of trying to drive when it rains on the racetrack and they're at an oval, and they're driving as hard as they possibly can. But it's something different when you're at these road course races and you get a wet spot in the track. Even with those slick tires, yes, it does affect the drive. Obviously, it does. But it seems like a really good driver can overcome that and can make it work despite a little bit of dampness. Now, obviously, you're not going to run it whenever there's standing water on the track. But when it's just damp like that, yeah, I think really good drivers manage to hold it underneath them so much better than even really good drivers with those wet rain tires can do, because they can just get so much better drive off if they just hammer down.
Yeah.
So it was fun to watch that as the track was drying. I was yelling at Allison, like, Allison was sitting there watching with me. We were both super excited. And you're just watching Tyler with 2 laps to go. That time expires. He's got a 3-second gap to Bowman. And within the first lap, he's already put it down to like 1.2 before he hit that wall.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that somebody that much faster was coming. I mean, if I was Bowman, I'd have been shaking in my knees a little bit till I saw him ping pong off of that inside wall on that one turn.
Yeah, and it's just, Reddick nailed it in his interview. He was like, I'm not, like, who knows what would have happened when I got there. He was like, I think I could have got there. I'm not saying I think I could have passed him. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been a wreck. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying I think I could have got to his bumper.
Yeah,
and I agree with
it.
I agree with that statement. I just, like I said, 2 weeks in a row that he's just like, that was just kind of on the driver. I don't know. He's in the Cattsburg seat 2 weeks in a row and just kind of, made the wrong decision both weekends.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler's a good race car driver, but I think there's still a few situations he's kind of got to go through before he's really going to get all those pieces put into the right spot. But he's right there. I mean, he's running top 5 constantly.
There's something about it still with Reddick, and the only reason I say this is because he openly talked about it on DBC last year when he came on for the Christmas episode. They asked him, like, how many wins do you think you've given away when you were in that 8 car and last year? And they all agree. They tallied them up, and he is screwed up. Not always him, like Nashville last year, tire falls off, stuff like that. But there has been multiple races. I mean, we're getting up into like over 10 now.
Yeah.
That he has had the best car and been in the best situation and still doesn't have the win. And I kind of still not. And Tyler Reddick's a winner. I mean, he's won championships. He's won NASCAR races. But it's like, when a driver really gets in their groove, like it seems like it takes a driver a long time to get that first win. And then you know what it takes to get the first win. Then you start rattling some off. It's like inconsistent maybe for him or something. Like, I feel like if Tyler Reddick could just go, if he could just like get on a hot streak like some of these guys do and rattle some wins off, Tyler Reddick would be a hard son of a bitch to beat at week in and week out. But it's just like something is inconsistent with Tyler Reddick, something about it. And I don't know what it is, but it's those little small mistakes that have now taken him out of probably 10 to 12 races. He's already got, 6 or 7 cup wins? I mean, I really think Tyler Reddick, even when he was in the 8 car, he blew tires when he was in the lead. He sped on pit road when he was in that 8 car. There were certain times, it goes all the way back to then. I'm not even talking about when he's just been in this 45 car. I mean, I would say Tyler Reddick could be pushing on the door of 20 wins in the Cup Series, but he's just had the mistakes in pit road and stuff that's really just made that to be where he's at now, and only has one win at Talladega.
Shoot, it's just like you talk to any driver, they'll tell you more about races that they've given away than races that they've won, and it's for a very good reason. It's so easy to lose a NASCAR race, and it's so difficult to win one.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just something about the end of these races. It never seems like Reddick messes with himself in the middle of them any more than your average driver would.
It's in the most important parts. It always seems to be
right there, like the last 20 laps, it seems to be where he constantly is giving something away. And he's so close to being everything that you need for a championship driver. I mean, he's sitting in 5th in the playoff standings right now. Tells you what you need to know. He's right there. He's at the cusp of being one of the greats. He just has those couple little learning things to go through yet.
Like I'm,
but if I was 23-11, I'd know I have a great driver on my hands. I need to hold on to him.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Once it ever all just clicks, whenever that happens, and it could be this year, it could be next year, whatever, you could see Tyler Reddick going to run and win a bunch of races in a season, in my opinion.
And shoot, with the way he's been driving, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened this year, just later on in the year. Once he gets everything kind of figured out and they really get their feet underneath him and they catch that one win that they need to just kick this off. I mean, they already have a win this year, but give them one more after all these second and thirds that they've been getting lately. Just make it happen.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I'd love the message that Allison just sent me since we're on 23-11. Since we're on 23-11, we all know where we're headed this after that. Allison just texted me, don't forget to talk about how much of a little-ass bitch Bubba is.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in this situation.
A ton. But I don't even remember seeing what happened at the very beginning of the race, so I'm going to need you to remind me. It didn't seem like it was that big of a deal.
It was in the rain when it was like they came in, it was like pouring down rain, and they ended up going back out for a couple laps before it was like before the hour and 40-minute rain delay.
Yeah.
He got into Bubba, and Bubba spun in front of whatever it was. They just spun out, and everybody in the field spun out, and like everybody's saying, in that rain situation, there was 10 different guys that got screwed, but only one guy that wanted to retaliate. You know? And there's just so many different ways. And the best part is we're not the only one with this opinion. Other people posted this too, but there's so many other ways to go about retaliating other than the cooldown lap. And before anyone says that me personally is saying this because it's Bubba Wallace, that would be incorrect. I have always been, and number one on my list of bullshit of drivers that do this is Truex. I've brought it up on this podcast. I brought it up at Richmond when Truex did it to Hamlin. Truex has a laundry list of guys who he has hit on the cooldown lap. Just like at the Roval back in the day when Jimmy Johnson was ready to strangle him, Jimmy Johnson was unbuckled. Nothing, unbuckled, winning that down, all this stuff. There's just so many other ways and so many better opportunities to go bump and run or punch someone in the mouth, whatever. Just don't do it when the wind net's down and they're unbuckled and you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
That is not the time and place to do it.
You said they had the in-car camera on when Bowman did get hit, and he's sitting there wiping tears out of his eyes.
Or
wiping tears out of his eyes, and suddenly just gets jostled like a mother. And I saw it happen. I was like, what the hell just happened?
He puts his hands up like this. And I know afterwards now he's like, oh, he barely hit me and this whatever. If that would have happened, say Bubba was going to do that regardless of Bowman winning that race or not. If Bowman wouldn't have won that race and he was sitting there and got nailed on the cooldown lap, the only reason he was so fine with it is because he was sitting in victory lane.
Yes,
if
absolutely.
If he finishes second or anywhere else in that race and Bubba slams him on the cooldown lap, he is going to be seeing red and ready. Because I don't care what Bowman says. In the car, he looks up and does like this. Like, what the hell was that for?
Yeah. There's just the best tweet I saw was out of the 75 ways to get back at Bowman, that just wasn't one of them.
That's exactly
there's just
right.
Exactly what you said summed up in a sentence, because I just couldn't believe it when I saw it. Then talk about, like, I feel bad for Bowman. It seemed like Twitter cared more about Bubba than it did about Bowman after the win. It's like, Jesus, dude, you went and took an entire person's moment and made it all about you. Like, how selfish could you possibly be to be doing something like that? And I agree with you. There's going to be a ton of people that say, like, oh, you're just mad because it was Bubba. It's like, well, I'm sorry, but Bubba's kind of got a track record. The reason we're always mad when it's Bubba doing something is because it's always something that Bubba's doing.
It's always Bubba doing it, yeah.
I mean, at some point, you got to stop saying that we're crying wolf here and start understanding that maybe that's a damn wolf.
Yeah. It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing about all this, and it's happened with other drivers as well. But you remember "Poor Poor Pitiful Me" by Terry Clark?
Yeah,
that's NASCAR drivers love being poor, pitiful me.
They
love
can. Specific ones.
And I'm gonna also throw this in there. Now, everybody's like, well, no one talked about this. No one said nothing about this. Well, it's because it hasn't been showed on NASCAR socials or anyone's socials other than these onboard cameras that fans go and screen record and post. Chase Elliott hit Daniel Suarez on the cooldown lap.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's just as much BS, in my opinion.
Good Lord. Give them both the penalty.
The only thing that is different about the Chase and Suarez situation was their fight and bump and run and knocking each other out happened on the last corner of the track. Bowman's and Bubba's happened 3 hours prior.
Yeah,
on the last lap,
with an entire red flag to cool off.
On the last lap, Chase was going to keep his top. Chase was in 10th, and Suarez comes in, or no, Chase comes in and gives Suarez the bumper. He does not wreck him, does not spin him nothing. He gets underneath him, and he's in 10th place. On the very last lap, last corner, Suarez hauls in there and just cleans Chase out, spins him off into the wild blue yonder, and it knocked Chase out of the top 10, knocked him also out of the top 20 to end his streak of top 20 finishes.
Yeah.
On that last
Suarez finishes in 11th.
Yeah. And Suarez even said in his interview, he was like, I took that way too far. Like, I hit him way too hard. That's on me. So, like, Suarez understands that he did go in there and just clean him out. Like, the whole bump to get past him was not worth absolutely demolishing a guy for.
Yeah.
But he acknowledged that.
I give it to you, and that may all be true, but I completely agree with you that Chase coming back and getting back at him on the cooldown lap, that's just like you said, there's 1,000 ways to handle that, and that's just not one of them. Don't ever put somebody else in a dangerous situation because you're mad at something that happened during the middle of the race.
But why has, like, NASCAR socials posted the Bubba and Bowman thing? Nothing's been said about Chase. Nothing's been posted about Chase.
I feel like that's because no one saw it.
Exactly. So everyone's like, well, Chase Elliott did this and no one said anything. It's like, well, yeah, no one saw it happen. If it weren't for people that had screen recordings of those onboard cameras, no one would still know that it happened.
Yeah.
NASCAR
is not going to post anything about their poster child doing something stupid.
I think they would, though, because
they would if it was bigger news, but they're not going to dig it up and put them out there.
Guy.
I feel like they're not going to dig it up and put it out there on their own.
Even after the race was over, Chase and Suarez, they don't fight, they don't do anything, but they're just having a heated discussion. NASCAR never posted anything about that. It was one of the media outlets, I think it was like Front Stretch News or whatever. They were standing there, just normal cell phone video of it. Like, there was no coverage of any of that stuff that went down. So how can you get mad about no one saying anything when there's no coverage of it to even know
when
that
NASCAR doesn't say anything?
If you didn't have
can't
Twitter,
expect the fans to get out there and just say that, just like exactly what you're about to say.
If you didn't have Twitter, which I know there's a lot of NASCAR fans that don't have Twitter, and I've said if you don't have Twitter, you're missing out on so much information. Like, if you're just watching a NASCAR race on TV, you were getting, like, the bare minimum of everything that goes on during a race. Like, Twitter 1,000% makes watching a NASCAR race better. If you didn't have Twitter, you would still be sitting here on Monday morning having no idea that Chase Elliott and Daniel Suarez even touched each other.
Which is hilarious because I didn't know that that's why Ryan Blaney finished in the top 10, because he finished in 10th, and that was my bet on Blaney. It was like, I don't think he's going to do very good, so I'm just going to put in a top 10 bet because it was plus money. And I got it on the last lap, and I saw him pop up there, and I was like, golly, how'd he go from like 13th to 10th so fast? I had no clue what had gone down.
Yeah. And
that's just so funny.
And if everybody wants to remember, this whole Bubba Wallace and Bowman thing, they have not been buddies for a long time. I don't know if everybody remembers the Roval and throwing water in the face, and the right hook and coming out of the chicane and all that. Like,
and all those things were
drinking beer together on the weekends, you know?
And every single one of the big talking points about any of those things were always Bubba doing it to Bowman.
Yeah. I mean, Bowman did wreck Bubba coming out of that thing, But just like like Bowman said, he'd been door slamming him and flipping him the bird for laps. And then Bowman just said, if he does it again, I'm going to wreck him. He flipped him a bird again, and Bowman wrecked him coming out of the corner.
He gave him a warning. The race,
water and gator, whatever, gets, So it's like you can't be mad about the situation you're in when you always put yourself in those situations.
It's so true.
But Bubba Wallace is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to sit here, and we talked last week, Bubba's sitting at the playoff bubble, minus 51. I have not seen the points today. I don't know what it is.
I think it's 40-something now. Golly, I just had it pulled up, and it disappeared on me.
So I don't know what it is now. But Bubba,
45 points out.
Okay, so he gained like 6 points on the guys. Okay, he's sitting there. He runs an average of just the middle of the pack. If it was, like we said last week, if it was the top 10 that were going to the playoffs, Bubba Wallace would never even be in consideration for this, ever.
Sitting at 17th.
Any year. So then you have that, and then you do something like that, and NASCAR can take money and points from you. All that does is put you and your team in a worse situation.
I would love to see how these Monday morning meetings go for Bubba Wallace lately, with all the things that he's got going on, not being in the playoff picture yet, not having the confidence of his team owners, it seems, and sitting at 45 points out with all these controversial things going down week after week. Bruh. Just trying your best to ensure that the best opportunity you've ever had will slip through your fingers. He's got 5 weeks to figure this out.
And fighting Eric Almirola in a Toyota competition meeting.
Yeah, just it seems like your name is constantly popping up in these news headlines, and none of them look great. Whether or not the Almirola thing was his fault, your name is still being mentioned. So at the end of the day, like, dude, every time news comes out about you, it's bad news.
Yeah.
And it's nobody's fault but your own, because you constantly put yourself in these positions. And these diehard fans that want to support him, hey, more power to you. You stand behind your driver, but you got to understand when he does something stupid, you have to be willing to admit it.
Yeah, and I've seen people. I saw a post yesterday, not a bunch, but a couple that's like, man, I try to be a fan of Bubba. Like, people talk about it. It's like, try to be a fan, but like, he always does stuff like this that makes me not be a fan. Like, people post that stuff yesterday on the internet. And then you have people, just like you would with Blaney or I would with Larson or whatever, your favorite driver. Like, you also have people that are diehard Bubba fans that are like, he could murder someone and they're still going to be support him. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the example. They like support him till the end. You know, ride or dies.
Everybody's got those fans.
Everybody has those. That's great. But at some point, it's just like, you can't always complain about these situations when you always put yourself in these situations.
Mm-hmm. So true.
That's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, that's a good place to end it, I feel like. So this, the wet weather tire, we had an experiment with it at New Hampshire, and it was kind of mandated how you were going to use them, which I understand at an oval, new kind of situation. Let's make sure that this is going to work before we get it too crazy, letting the teams take over. But this week, the teams got to make their own decision on what to do. And I absolutely loved it. I loved watching the decisions all the way from lap 1 till the end of that race. Who was taking slicks? Who was taking wets? How were you going to handle them? I mean, watching the Penske guys all start on wet weather tires and end up at the very back. Watching all these guys,
molasses running uphill.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's a decision you got to make based off of the radar as you're reading it. I mean, everybody was taking a gamble there, and some guys got it right and some guys got it wrong. I absolutely loved everything about the wet weather package on this one. I feel like they just nailed it. Put the power in the team's hands. We didn't go out there and do any racing and anything stupid, and I'm honestly amazed when they got back racing after the red flag and all that mist and spray was up in the air coming into turn 1. I told Allison, I was like, watch it. They're going to wreck like a mother right here. It's going to be a huge pileup. And they all made it through, even some of them 3 wide. I was amazed. They're getting better at it, and you can tell.
Yeah, there was two things that I really loved. And the first one is I loved them giving the teams the opportunity to go from slicks to wet weather tire. Because like I said, if there's an ounce of dry on that racetrack and you can have slicks, you have the advantage. I mean, you could be racing that 66 car that Carl Long owns. And if you're the only car on slicks and there's enough dry, you're going to look like you're in a Hendrick Motorsports car.
Yeah.
Secondly, I did not know this. I do not think it had been announced, but the way NASCAR, this new policy, like putting the clock and giving the time and all that, even last year at Chicago, that was not in place. It has never had to be used yet. But apparently this rule came about after Chicago last year with this, rule. Like, used to, NASCAR could just say there's 2 to go at any point. When you come around here, there's going to be 2 to go.
And you don't know what you're racing to.
Yeah, you don't know what you're racing to. It just really screws everyone. So for NASCAR to come out as early as they did, like I said, NASCAR announced this, 30 minutes before TV did. But they came out and said this race is going to end at 9:20 Eastern. And they said that so early, and they gave them exactly what it was going to be. At 9:20, you're going to get 2 to go. I thought I even posted on Twitter, that's perfect. If that's the way it's got to be at this situation, let them know early, let the fans know, let them know what they're racing to, and let them know exactly how the race is going to end. And I thought that was the perfect way to go about it.
Yeah, and I loved everything about it,
been able to finish, but I love the way it was handled.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. When they put that time limit thing up there, I was like, oh my God, thank you. Because it sucked last year to be halfway through the race, it get rained, and they're having to figure all this out. And then they shorten the race by 25 laps, and they still barely end up making it. And it's it's a crapshoot the whole way around. You're wondering, are we even going to do this? Are we not? Are they even going to have enough light to finish this race?
Yeah,
it was awesome to just know an hour ahead of time when they started. I know they announced it way earlier, but just having that timer up there so you have an idea. Like, we don't know what lap they're going to finish on, but we'll at least tell you when they're going to finish it. And it was great to be able to see that, and it built up the excitement without it being just like a impending doom sitting over your head. This race could end at any moment.
Something else I really liked, and it didn't get thrown on there until towards the end of the race. And in my opinion, I feel like this was probably not necessarily in the plans, but someone with some brains had enough time to come up with it to put it on the scoring pylon. They put on there who had wets and who had dries.
That's a great idea.
And they threw it up there normally where like the intervals would be and all that in that situation. That was perfect. If that would have been Fox doing that, no chance we would have ever saw that.
Yeah.
No chance.
I agree.
So
it was really cool.
Yeah, so having them throw that up there, and I feel like it had to be done in the middle of the race, because if it was already programmed in, I think they would have done it immediately. So someone in there did something, got it switched up, and boom, got it put on there before the end of the race, so we could see who was on slicks, who was on wets.
Yeah,
and it was perfect.
It was great. I mean, getting to watch Reddick catch up, you would have had no clue why he was so much faster in that moment. You would have thought, man, he's just really good at this rain tire stuff, and it's like he wasn't even on the rain tires. Dude had already switched to slicks. He was catching them like a mother. And you got to watch 2 different strategies play out right there in front of your face, and they gave you every bit of information. I was even telling y'all before the race had even started, when they were going over all the modifications they make to the cars for rain package races like this. As Steve Letarte is talking about each individual addition to the car, there's a cameraman at the back end of Kyle Larson's car showing you the mud flaps underneath the car, showing you the lights, showing you the cameras, like everything that needed to go on for that rain race to happen. You got told about it, and we didn't even have to have a cutaway car graphic. We had the damn car,
the real car,
on the screen as they're talking about it, so you knew immediately what the heck it was that they'd done to these cars to make them race better in the race. Yeah, and that was just really cool TV work by NBC.
And I loved how the back windshield of Larson's car was completely fogged up and everything. And Letarte's like, "You see this little camera right here? As long as that's not fogged up, we're good. You're good to go. It doesn't matter what your back windshield is. Like, you have a perfect view.
Yeah,
as long as this camera is clear."
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about too. You talking about like guys being good on rain tires and in the wet. Someone posted it, and I freaking hate that someone posted it, because I was already thinking it, especially after last week. last week was Loudon, right? Or was the week before last?
I don't
Either
know.
Way.
My weeks fly by anymore.
We have finally, because Denny Hamlin
Nashville.
is so good at everything, we have finally found Denny Hamlin's Achilles heel.
Yeah.
And it is the rain, and it is wet weather tires.
Yeah. He falls like a rock, man. It's unbelievable.
Falls like a rock,
runs into the tire barrier. He does all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and it is. He ended up finishing. Did he get a top 10 yesterday?
30th.
Hamlin finished 30th. Okay.
30th. Yeah.
So it's just he cannot. I think it has something to do. I don't know. He's just like an old head. You know what I mean? Like it's just not in his. It's not in his DNA still. Like he's kind of like Jeff Burton. He's kind of so against the wet weather thing.
I don't even know if I've seen him say anything bad about it. I think he just is like, it is what it is. I'll figure it out eventually. Which, I mean, I have confidence in Denny Hamlin of all people to figure something out. Like, he'll get there. But it's just, he obviously doesn't. He ain't starting off on a good foot. He's going to have to work at this.
It's nothing he can go practice.
Yeah, I mean, the best you can do is just
in the race. The races that it happens to happen in.
And he's a fast learner. I could see him getting better at it, but I ain't picking Denny Hamlin. And if there is a cloud in the sky, I am fading Denny Hamlin hard.
It cracks me up how that's the one thing we found that Denny Hamlin cannot be a cocky asshole about, because he cannot.
Yeah,
he has not figured it out yet.
But his teammates got it figured out like a mother, so you'd think he'd be able to go and look at his data. But Christopher Bell in the rain, that's just almost like, a shoe-in.
Just like Loudon, though. Just like Loudon. They told him on the radio he is driving it harder and deeper in the corner than you and making this X number of lap time. And Denny's like, I have no idea how he's doing that. And Chris Gabehart's like, I don't know, bro. I'm just giving you the info.
Yeah. What else can he really say? I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have to watch every single bit of his SMT data to figure out what is he doing different than Denny. It's got to be something with the smoothness at which he applies the brake, releases the brake, and applies the throttle coming out of the corners.
I think it has a lot to do. Christopher Bell grew up racing on slick, wet dirt racetracks his whole entire life, so he knows about driving on slick and wet.
Yeah, and the second guy, the guy that finished right behind him, same exact thing.
Yeah, so I think that just has a lot to do with it. When it depends what tire you're on, but if you're looking for the driest groove, or if you're on the wet tires looking for the wettest groove in dirt racing, every single time you go into the corner, the line's different. It's moved a little bit. You're moving around each corner. Bell knows how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not.
It's very true.
He knows what to look for and what he's doing. So, and like I said, same thing with Reddit. You know, it's like I don't know. Bell's definitely done even though he didn't win yesterday, he led so many laps in the rain. He did so well, and obviously what he did at Loudon, but he definitely seems to be the rain tire guy.
Yeah. Imagine going back to young Christopher Bell and young Tyler Reddick and be like, all that dirt racing experience, that's going to make you a really good street racer one day.
Yeah.
Imagine saying something like that, then they look at you like you have 3 eyeballs.
It was before this car, but a lot of times back in the day, when they drove the other car on the road courses, all the dirt track guys would always go out and do better, especially in qualifying at road courses, because they could just sling the car around. They're slipping and sliding, and that was just like part of road course racing a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like you said, I don't know if you'd expect like all these guys that had never raced a road course in their life to get into a Cup car or an Xfinity car back then and be like, wow, all this stuff I learned doing that really helps me here on this road course. But it does. And it's pretty cool.
It does, and it surprises you, man. It really does. Kyle Busch finally got himself a top 10 too. I just now noticed that sitting in there.
First one since maybe 5th, I think they said.
Good Lord, man! What a wild time to be alive for Kyle Busch. But at least he didn't finish down in the 30s for once. I mean, he finally got himself up in there. Still 98 points out though.
Yeah, Kyle's interview before the weekend was so like he called it heartbreaking. Like he's like, all the stuff I do with off the racetrack to like come here and do this bad on Sundays is heartbreaking. and it's like hard to think about. It's hard to deal with, and like all this stuff. And I was like, damn, all right, like it was like, damn, that's a hell of a way to describe it, I guess. I just didn't expect that, but he called it heartbreaking multiple times, and I was like, all right.
At least he's admitting it. I mean, I know
he's just
like
have to sad, like sad boy summer a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be at some point. You just got to admit, like, this is not going the way that I saw it playing out. But
yeah.
God, it is good to see him finally back up there again. But, man, it's been a long slog just to get back up in the ninth.
Yeah, and
I can't imagine what the next 8 places are going to look like.
Yeah, and he finished well at the street course last year. I want to say he finished like third or something like that last year. But so yeah, maybe he's got the street course thing, somewhat figured out.
Yeah, being a good race car driver there helps out too. So
yeah,
just knowing his ability, I know,
I don't really know
it's just something I could see him doing good at.
If anyone has anything really figured out though, like
no,
at Chicago, because every time we go there, it's different, and there's different scenarios,
and it's raining.
And the rain, and different tires, and all this stuff. So I think they just go in. I love when Steve Letarte was like, if I'm a crew chief, I'm not looking at any notes anymore. There's no notes to look at. You have to call this off the seat of your pants right now as it happens.
Yeah,
there's
so true.
Trends, no notes to look at. He said anything that I thought about that was going to happen in this race, he was like, throw it out the window. Call it like this. I think the same thing applies to the drivers. Like, it's just like, you got to do the best you can, stay out of the wrecks, and get the most out of what you can without winding up windshield deep into the wall.
Yeah.
Just like Noah Gragson.
Old SPG.
Oh, yeah, that was also sucked. I hated that. I know that happened.
The guy that definitely was making a case to win that race. I mean, I'd called him not to win it last week when we talked about it. That's not what I meant. I meant that somebody was going to go in there and race him really hard and put him back in the back a little bit, but I didn't expect somebody to just... I mean, he didn't even get outright wrecked. He barely even got nudged. Briscoe did everything he could to get out of there. Was it Briscoe or Barry? I can't remember which.
It was Briscoe. Briscoe and Barry had bad weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a bad weekend to be a...
I'm glad they signed their deals before this showing of today, because it looked like Noah Gragson last year.
Yeah, it was bad. It was just a rough look, but it's a tough racetrack, and you're talking about two guys who just have no experience doing something like that, which I know everybody out there is in the same boat, but just a bad showing all the way around. I hated it for him. It was definitely a little bit embarrassing, but
yeah, it was
you'll
rough.
have those races every now and then.
I wanted to say, too, talking about guys, like, just taking what the track gives you and, like, taking it easy. In Noah Gragson's interview during the rain, he was like, I still have PTSD from turn 6. He was like, I'm already preparing for turn 6 and, like, getting off the gas and what I'm going to do exiting turn 5.
Yeah.
and, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, you're going to be better off that way. Other than, like he said, it's a lot of reward but a lot of risk to run on that edge.
Yeah, it is.
There. And there's guys, like Denny Hamlin says too, 30% of guys are going to take themselves out on their own. At that situation, that number goes up. Like, people are going to take themselves out. So if you just take what it gives you and make the most of it, you could probably come out of there with a pretty decent day if you don't go into the wall, head first.
So true, man.
Especially him last year. He hit the wall head first like 30 times.
Yeah, and then you had Larson do it. You had Hamlin do it. You had Ryan Preece do it. I forget half of the guys that ran into that damn tire barrier, but yeah, I mean, it collects a little bit of everybody. 30% is a pretty damn good number.
Yeah, it was. It's just gonna happen. It just is what it is. It's gonna happen, and guys are gonna push and push and push till there's nothing left. So I totally understand, but it's also like, if you just hang back a little bit, you'd probably be in better shape.
Yeah. It's true, man. And the guys that did hang back, he got a good few wild cards in the top 10. I mean, Michael McDowell, Joey Hand, Ricky Stenhouse, Todd Gilliland. Some wild cards ended up there, and it's just the guys that managed to surprise
Todd Gilliland ran a good race all the way around.
He did. I had him picked as a top 10 with a parlay with Hocevar, and I almost had it until about 5 laps to go. Hocevar just right down the running order. It was looking good. But speaking of bets, did you place any before the race happened?
I did not.
Oh, damn.
The only bet I wanted to place was Justin Haley top 10, and it didn't happen, and so I was fine with that.
Yeah. Well, I'd picked Michael McDowell top 5, Ryan Blaney top 10.
Said.
Yep, and I made money on him, and won parlay with Kyle Busch beating Suarez and Byron beating Martin Truex. So those three right there ended up putting me at plus money. So I had a decent, if not lackluster, weekend when it came to betting.
Hell yeah. I wanted to also throw out there, and I know it's because of the road courses, but SVG is having Wreck-A-Side on Sunday, having one of the best entries into NASCAR as a whole ever. Literally ever.
Could not agree more, man. I mean, you said it best. The number of road courses these days may be helping him out, but holy crap, is he coming out? No way is he coming out and having that type of season without him, but damn, is he having a hell of a season with him.
Yeah, dude, and he runs, even at ovals, he's not up there battling for the lead, but he has already got a few top 10 ovals this year. I mean, he's just a pure, talented, badass race car driver.
He is leading the Xfinity Series points right now with 3
wins.
I
wanted to bring that up too. After on this podcast we talked about it, I accidentally bet him to win the title, the Xfinity Series title. I am not saying that SVG is going to win the title, but as of today, July 8th, he is leading the points by 2 more playoff points than anybody else in the field. And guess what?
One more win.
There's more road courses coming.
Yep, 2 of them in the playoffs.
He's just he's not gonna be able to go to Phoenix and do nothing crazy, but like it's just like Chris from college. Chris Rice. There he was like, there's a good chance the way this is playing out, he could be leading the points by the time the playoffs start. He's going to have the most playoff points accumulated, most likely. And just like we always said, the 4 guys with the most going into it are usually, by numbers, have the best chance of making the Final 4 anyway. And if he just goes out and has solid runs, he doesn't wreck race cars, he doesn't finish bad. If he just goes out and does finish in that 10th to 14th area, not saying he's going to win the championship when doing that, but he is going to go deep in the playoffs doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the points
he's already making a good case for it. Imagine him coming out with I don't know where he's at in the regular season point standings.
I don't think
he's doing exceptionally well. 11th.
Like that. 11th.
Yeah, he's in 11th right now. So no chance of winning the regular season points championship. But, I mean, going into it in the playoffs with the points lead, I mean, that's going to be wild for him. I'm excited just to see what even ends up happening. At this point, he just ceases to surprise me. It's just like, we go to a road course, I expect him to win or finish second. It's impressive.
He's just so good. It's insane.
Yeah, I don't know where the heck he came from, but man, am I glad he's here. He just seems like a genuine nice dude. Now he just is out there having the most fun he possibly can.
I know.
And
he's
kicking ass doing it.
I love his attitude. I love too, like, every time he gets out of a race car, he's grinning ear to ear.
Yeah. He's
about like
fun.
how great it was, and bumping and banging and like this, that, and the other. I'm just like, it's just awesome.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't have to take it as serious as he used to in the supercars almost, and he's just out there having fun, and his fun is making him really good.
And like you said, he didn't come here, he didn't move his whole life here to run, an Xfinity Series car. So I just really wonder what the plan is for him.
I have a feeling he's in the Cup Series next year.
In the 99 car?
That's a good place to put him.
They ain't announced that deal yet either.
Yeah. Trade one foreigner for another. Let's come on with it.
Yeah, there's just something, I don't know. When they asked Justin Marks about it, he said, I have no doubt that he will be racing at Trackhouse next year, talking about Suarez. He did not say he's going to be back in his Cup car in the 99 car next year. You know what I mean? He didn't say it like that. He said racing at Trackhouse next year. So
big Xfinity guy.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I just wonder. I still think there's some big parts of this silly season that ain't came out yet. I really do. I really believe that. There's like some
I mean, there's still so much left to go with that.
Yeah, there is. And I'm just like, I love making up all the scenarios in my head, but I'm just like, I wonder what's going to happen or like what goes on behind closed doors at all these places.
Yeah, it's slowly coming together as the season goes on. AM Racing makes their decision not to have Haley Deegan in the car anymore.
That up too.
You got all these other seats opening up. There's all sorts of stuff going on everywhere. It's just so nuts out there. It's just fun to even think about it. But yeah, go ahead.
I just like, last year, Brett Moffitt in that car finished 15th in points and had multiple chances to win some races. I actually won money on him in Atlanta last year in the Xfinity Series race because I bet him as a top 3, and and his odds were so bad that it ended up being like a really good bet. Yeah. But I think that was the biggest thing, just looking at it on paper, like what changed so much that we went from running 15th to now, like, what is it, like 30th
in the regular season?
They're 20th in points?
28th.
Okay, yeah, I was
in the regular season.
It's like pretty far down there. And when I think it was Bob posted, he talked with AM Racing and said, like, they don't have a driver picked out for Pocono or, like, for the rest of the season. It's like, that seems like this wasn't just a one-time thing. And then Haley Deegan takes out AM Racing out of her Twitter profile and her Instagram and all that. It's like, that's what NFL players do when they're ready to leave a town. They take all the stuff that has to do with that team off their social media. So it was almost like the writing was on the wall, even though I didn't 100% expect that announcement like this morning, first thing. But it was almost like the writing was there on the wall that it was going to happen after those couple other little things came out.
Absolutely. And Joey goes out there and takes that same car and finishes in 8th place
with it,
on Saturday.
Yeah.
I just don't see that happening with her behind the wheel.
I don't know if she would have made the field.
Are they not locked in every week that they have to qualify in?
I think so. There's like a certain whatever in point. I don't really know, but there's something about like they posted all of her qualifying efforts this year at road courses. And I mean, it's like 32nd, 37th, whatever. And it's like there was like over 40 cars trying to make the Xfinity race.
Yeah.
So there was some go home. There was like a list of like 6 or 7 go home guys.
Yeah. And that's just rough. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm a Deegan hater by any means, but it's, man, even since the Truck Series, I've had a really hard time ever being convinced that putting her in a car, besides the money she may bring in, is a good idea. I have not seen anything that shows me otherwise. A couple ARCA wins here and there doesn't really tell me much. And the performance on the track and the Truck Series and Xfinity Series both has made it really difficult for me to find a reason why, if someone came out and said they wanted to put her in the car, I could not come up with a few reasons why that's a bad idea.
Yeah, ARCA wins just don't mean what they used to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the ARCA Series used to be, I mean, just go back and look at the ARCA Series 10 years ago. It's all Cup guys now that were beating and banging and winning races. You know what I mean? Now it's like ARCA racing has literally turned into who has the most money to race this car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, ARCA wins just don't mean what they used to mean.
It's more representative of the car that you're in than anything.
Yeah, so it's hard to even base your, what am I looking for? Like your success off of some ARCA wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or at least in my eyes it is. And I think a lot of the people in the industry would also agree. Like, just because someone's kicking ass in ARCA doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the next big thing.
Yeah. No doubt. And I mean, they keep putting her in positions and she keeps kind of underperforming. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I think there was a lot of hype, and I'm sure part of it kind of sucks because at the end of the day, she went into all these different places with expectations put on her that she had just there was no reason to put that much expectation on her to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder sometimes if that pressure or if that expectation weighed down on her and her ability at any point. Who knows? I don't know her. I don't know anything really about her. But it does suck to come in when people are expecting so much of you. If you just perform like a normal rookie would perform, that is disappointing to the people that already have these expectations you're going to come in and kick ass.
Totally.
But the problem is, the longer it's gone on, there's just not been a whole lot of improvement there. So it's like the longer we keep this going, the more and more that people are going to start jumping on that bandwagon of like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And here we are now.
Yeah. I really want to see. I'd love if AM could get guys throughout the year, just like Joey Logano, like different Ford guys to come in through the year and race that car to finish the year out. You know, I know we're like halfway through, but still, like getting a Blaney and a Logano and a Cindric and you know, Harrison Burton, whoever, those guys that are in the Cup Series just come in. Because as much as we shit on Harrison Burton was a badass little Xfinity Series racer. And he's going to have to go back and be another little badass one next year, from what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But, you know, like some of those guys, those Ford guys can come down, and it'd be cool to, you know, some of the bigger name guys to come down and run that car, in my opinion.
Yeah, see what you can do in it. Go ahead and build it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, do you want to move on to everybody's favorite moment
Pocono
of the episode?
Oh, hack of the week.
Hack of the week.
I got two hack of the weeks.
Two hack of the weeks, he says. All right.
Hardcore hack of the weeks. My first hack of the week, because it was the first video I saw, the dude on the four-wheeler driving across a hot track.
Yes.
The car.
Like, what was he trying to do?
No telling. No clue.
Like, destroyed a race car, destroyed his leg, destroyed that four-wheeler, and
I'm
destroyed an entire day.
I'm surprised he only has one shattered leg. It shot him so high into the air.
He got obliterated, man. I couldn't believe it.
And he only had a broken leg. I was like, wow, I'm surprised that's all you came out of there with.
Yeah, that could have ended his life.
Same exact situation. Exact same situation. There's a sprint car race going on, and there's a late model in the infield, and he just decides during the middle of the race, he's just going to drive out of the track. Boom. Sprint car. Bam. Nails it. Oh, yeah.
I didn't see that one. Holy crap.
Same happened last night.
He's paying for a new sprint car then, sounds like.
He's an idiot. He's paying for a lot of shit.
Yeah. Fines, never going back to that track again, all sorts of stupid stuff. That's just unbelievable. When will people learn hot tracks are not to be messed around with?
And those, as soon as I saw those, I was like, I don't care what else happens. This is you got to be. I don't know. I don't know if that guy was drunk or what, but I was like, you got to be crazy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely nuts. I got a good one for you, and I need some explanation from somebody on this one. But my hack of the week is NASCAR opening up pit road with the jet dryers about to be right at the exit to stack up everybody whenever they're leaving pit road.
Yep.
Why in the world was pit road opened if we were going to have it plugged up at the ass end? At the very, like, when all the cars are trying to leave and it's a competitive pit stop, you're telling me we're going to have jet dryers in front of the exit and we're going to cause a bunch of people to run into each other? Like, worked out fine because the guy that got hit the most was the guy that hit hardest was Tyler Reddick, and he ended up finishing in second. So obviously nothing bad ended up coming out of it, but that was some of the dumbest things I've ever seen. We got jet dryers right there, and we almost Juan Pablo Montoya them with every single car exiting pit road.
Yes, and just a few years ago, that same hit that Tyler Reddick did to Bubba Wallace, they would have been on the hauler going home.
Yeah, it would have blown the radiator out.
The only reason that car was okay is because it's its new car.
Yeah.
If it had just been sheet metal, those cars would have just been crushed.
Just goofy, man. Like, that was just so dumb. They should have just held it for another lap or told those jet dryers, hey, park it until all the guys get off the pit road and then keep on going.
All they had to do was just stop for 20 seconds and let them all get off.
Yeah, nobody paying attention.
We were talking in the group chat, and I was like, no, something happened. Like, they stopped. Like, the leaders coming off pit road just slamming their brakes. I was like,
for some reason.
I don't know what it was.
I didn't notice it, but you did.
You couldn't see that there was jet dryers there, obviously. But, like, you could see when Bell comes off, and I just saw the red car flash by, and I thought it was a 38 car. But it's like, they slam on their brakes right when they were getting off the side of that camera. I was like, something went on to cause this pile up, and then you see the full shot, and it's the jet dryers down there. I'm like, oh god.
Oh man, I love it. And then my backup hack of the week is
the NASCAR tower problem, though. Somebody's got to be on the radio.
That is a NASCAR problem. Yeah, be like, hey, hold up, you got a hot pit road right now. Everybody's about to be leaving it. That would have taken 2 seconds. That would have solved that entire problem.
Exactly. So that's their problem.
Yeah, that is my hack of the week. My back hack of the week is the idiots that climbed up on the catch fence.
Oh god.
And I don't even know what the hell they were protesting or talking about or whatever. I don't really even care. Just getting up on a damn catch fence in the middle of a race like that. What are you doing? What are you trying to say? Nobody even the TV never showed you. The only people that saw you were people on Twitter making fun of you and that dude that climbed up after him.
Yeah.
Ripping the damn flag out of their hands.
There was more people protesting stuff all day, apparently.
What are we doing, man?
Yeah.
Like protesting a NASCAR race for what reason?
Did you hear about the fire department? Did you hear about the fire department and the EMTs and all that?
I heard that they were protesting something about lack of pay or something.
Yeah,
and
they
were
going
to show up.
And it was just all kind of stuff.
Like, it's turned into everybody's just excuse to go out there and protest is what the NASCAR race is there for. The Grant Park, 150 protesters.
The Grant Park still ain't finished yet in 2 years.
Yeah, I think we've gotten one full race length out of 2 years of racing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good Lord. Oh, man. Great hack of the week this week. I love it. I absolutely love it. Dude, trading paint, though, you got to go with that 34. The White Sox car, that thing was badass.
I was a big fan of 34, and I also was a huge fan of that white Fastenal car with the stars on it. Solid white, had the blue.
Was that the 17 car? I didn't really notice it. I never really had a good look at it.
Yeah, that was my I think I liked 34 more. Also, Skill was a sponsor, and all my tools are Skills. So,
big Skill guy.
Yeah, that's cool too. I love that 34 car though. I love the 17 car. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, it looked great, man. I loved watching it, and especially whenever the city, like other sports teams, are getting in on this. Like, hey, NASCAR's coming to town. Let's sponsor a damn car, and like getting their name put on there too. I just thought it was really cool cross promotion.
Yeah, it just sucks the White Sox are one of the worst teams in the major leagues, record-wise.
Well, I couldn't tell you anything about that, but they're from Chicago. They're too busy protesting.
For sure. Pocono this week, I think you go back to your Hamlin. They have battled and beaten Bang for the lead there multiple times throughout the last couple years. So
yeah,
those are definitely going to be your two favorites. They're going to be your two favorites on DraftKings. They're going to be your two favorites on your fantasy thing. There's always some guys though, like a McDowell. Some of those road course guys can have a really good race at Pocono because of the corners.
Yes.
So if
absolutely,
like, you had some people you need to throw in the back end, a couple layups on the end of your fantasy league, you could throw in a McDowell.
Yeah, I would still pick a fairly quick team. Any team that has really good speed. So I would say a Ford underdog would be a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this track is so speed-based. You've got to have a fast race car to be able to perform here. It's almost like if you made Talladega or Daytona a little bit more technical, but you're still going to have to pretty much rely on the top end of your engine with as long as these damn straightaways are.
Yeah. Chastain has done good here in his career. Yeah, that's kind of my three probably right there off the top would be Hamlin, Larson, and Chastain.
I could see that. I'm definitely I'm with you on Hamlin for sure. I mean, there's a reason I said it 1,000 times. He has the most wins
here before.
Yep.
I don't
Blaney's
know.
won here before. His very first win came here.
Yeah, I don't
Couldn't
know
tell
what
you
his
anything
stats
beyond
are.
that, but I'm hoping for a good race for him. Gosh, it's going to be hard to pick anybody further. I mean, of course, William Byron. I'd watch out for him too. I could see him coming out and having a really spectacular
Bowman's
day.
won here before, getting on the hot streak maybe. I don't know, but
you never know, man.
I can tell you this. I mean, it's a NASCAR race, so I'm fired up. But I am fired up about the Brickyard, and not next week, but not this coming week, but the next week.
Dude, I'm with you. I cannot wait to see this new car on the oval.
I am so excited.
I've been so disappointed every year that they put that damn road course out.
Same.
And
I am so
I know it's
excited.
not going to be as packed as the 500 is every single year, but damn, I really hope the fans show up for this Brickyard going back to the oval, especially with the new car, and I think it's going to race like a mother around there. I am so stoked for it.
Oh, and I think Denny said the tires fell off pretty good on his test. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I am just very, 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 very excited to see this car run at the Brickyard.
Yeah, I enjoy Pocono for what it is, but man, is it just in a bad spot in the schedule for me because I'm so excited about next week. I'm almost ready to get Pocono out of the way so we can get to it. But
yeah,
I mean, Pocono is fun for its own thing. It brings in a lot more strategy than a lot of other racetracks do because of the fact that it's so long and it's so heavy on fuel. You've got to worry about where your fuel number is. You kind of have to race it backwards like a road course.
And you can pit that's the fun part of stages and all that good stuff, just like a road course as well.
If there's anyone I would watch out for as like a wild card, like you were talking about, I would think of somebody like a Stenhouse or maybe even a Cindric, somebody that's going to have enough speed to make an alternate strategy work.
You said you had to have speed.
They do, but that's where I'm coming from with this.
I don't know if Cindric has speed.
Well, where I'm coming from is I think you got to look at the guys that are willing to make wild strategy calls because they need to get those points. I could see a Stenhouse. Stenhouse does it all the damn time. Yeah. Staying out long, hoping for a caution. Cindric, I could see him doing the same thing. I've seen Penske making a lot of like weird strategy calls that put him in really good places. It's how Logano has any decent finish this year. It's how Blaney got into a couple good spots. Cindric definitely can make every now and then some wild strategy moves. So that's kind of why I'm talking about some real wild. I mean, I called him a wild card for a reason. The guys that I think will do something opposite of the field in order to put themselves in better track position for later on in the race.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, especially on Stenhouse, because something that blows me away about Ricky Stenhouse and his crew chief is they cannot get stage points. They're never around for stage points, but they always can figure out a way on that last stage, just like you said, strategy-wise, to wind him up in the top 10.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
You know who also has been doing some crazy strategy lately is Todd Gilliland.
They
have been doing some wild stuff.
And he's been
where
running
they put on like
too.
right sides and then left sides later on to even them back out again. I mean, they've been doing a lot of crazy things to put themselves into good finishing positions.
Yeah, he's been running good. I was about to say something else. Oh, Bowman finishes top 10 every week.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I said Bowman. Bowman's one here. So, Bowman could also be a, not that he's a dark horse, but, that guy that could also get a win here. He has wins here previously, and he runs top 10 every week. So, that could be another one of those, like, this could happen kind of thing.
Yeah. This may be a good situation where you wait till practice or qualifying before you start making any picks. Because, I mean, we just named a ton of drivers that we think could do good. But it's all for different reasons. If this turns into a strategy-heavy race, look at your wild cards and your back markers. If this turns into a very straight-down-the-middle race, look at your favorites of Hamlin and Larson and Chastain. But outside of that, it's just anybody's race because of the fact that it is, one, based so much on racecraft, and two, based so much on crew chief strategy. It throws a lot of monkey wrenches in it where you can be really good there and finish mediocre because someone outplayed you at your own game.
Yeah, I'm with you. It'll be a fun race.
Yeah, but it'll be an old school NASCAR race fans kind of race, I think.
Which is good.
Oh, I'm always here for that. Throw me a little bit of strategy in my NASCAR race, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, I agree. But let's get it over with and get to the Brickyard.
Hell yeah. Oh, shoot, man. Well, I think that's all we have about the Chicago street course. When it's only 127 miles long, there's only so much you know how to talk about.
Yep, that's a fact.
So just make sure that if you're driving around Chicago, watch out for big piles of tires. There's usually a concrete wall right behind them. Got to make sure you're avoiding those. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, you can find me on all the socials, Dawson Edwards Music.
Heck yeah.
Raise Rowdy and Nikki T, Matt Burrell, Raise Rowdy Racing. You can find all those.
Yeah. You can find me at Caleb Conrady and anywhere but Chicago. I am not going over there. I have nothing to protest. Life is good. I'm just going to stick with my normal old Southeast hangouts, like pretty much in my own backyard because I'm tired of going places.
Alabama.
Fort Payne, Alabama. Yeah, that's a good enough place to hang out in, I reckon. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. And let's see how Pocono goes, y'all. Brandy, we wish you luck on your picks. We gave you every single race car driver in the entire field, so it's really up to you at this point. It's all may the odds be ever in your favor.
See y'all.
See y'all.